Qlik back again. Today, my friends, I'm continuing my series on Qlik Cloud Data Integration. And I've got a subject near and dear to all of our hearts as administrators. Where end users want to visualize data that's not even there yet.
Yes, I know it seems crazy, but we do deal with that problem all the time. I'm looking here at a very, very simple Qlik Cloud Data Integration project. Basically, I'm bringing data from my PE SQL Server, and I'm going to pipe that into Snowflake. I've got a very simple step here. I've got an onboarding step where I'm looking at three simple tables. And I also have an onboarding step where I bring those tables across, but notice that there's also a rule here, and the rule is to prefix every one of my column names with a GH underscore. So here's the crux of the issue that we're going to be looking at today. The onboarding step happens constantly through change data capture, but the onboarding storage step is something that you would schedule. And typically this could be every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, doesn't really matter. But the concept is that that happens all the time. Well, what happens when a user comes along and says, look, I know we're using change data capture. That data should always be there, and I want to see it. I don't want to wait for your batch to get done to move those transactions through. Well, that poses a problem, right? The beautiful thing about Qlik Cloud Data Integration is I simply select things, I check radio boxes, I create a model that associates tables to one another. What I don't want to do is create a mountain of technical debt where I start creating hand-coded views of data. So I'm going to go ahead and open this one. And I'm going to look at the monitor here. We're going to look at the change data capture status. Notice for the patient table that three updates have already been pushed through in the past. So this is something that's happening actively. If I go out and look at my tables in Snowflake, I have in my storage layer a patient's table. And if I run that, I can see that there's patient 1, and there's patient 2. If I look at the change table for the patients table in my landing, you'll see that we've had three updates before, the last of which created this patient name, patient live view 2. So what I want to do is now I'm going to go and run a transaction. I'm going to actually change a value for one of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this patient 2 and we're going to say that they live on Live View Avenue instead. And I'm going to change patient 1 and I'm going to say that they live at 123 Live View Street. All right, so we've made these two changes. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And I'll refresh this a few times till we see that we should have updates 4 and 5. And there we go. That's how fast we've read the log from that server. And that data is now in our landing area. So if I look at the change table, you'll see that we now have Live View Avenue, 123 Live View Street, and that data's there. Yay! Well, the end user wants it. But it's not there yet for the end user to have because we haven't batched it yet, right? That's what a schedule's for, to put these things together so that we can bring multiple things together in a batch rather than having extraneous changes just applied all over the place. If I go look at my landing zone and I look at the table, you'll notice that in the landing zone, guess what? The table contains the data that was there when it was, this is crazy, landed originally. And the change data capture information is stored in the change table. So you would need a view to try to pull those things together, right? Well, that's what the batch is for, is to run that kind of view to pull the latest and greatest changes for each of the tables or data sets, which is our terminology for Qlik Cloud Data Integration. Well, the wonderful thing, if I go out and I look at our onboard storage area, you'll notice that there's views. These are non-materialized anyway. And yes, I have a patient's view, which shows me the most current that has been batched through. But notice I also have a live view. We've already built this for you to handle that situation. It's saying, look, I know it's got to be stored, it's not batched, but my end user needs to see that data. And what you can do with these live views is take a peek and you'll see, look at that. Wow, I am applying the right column headers to things. If there was any other modifications we might have made, add 5, subtract 2, uppercase, blah, 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 those would be applied as well. But I'm now showing my end user the live values that have come through from CDC without needing to have applied the batch. Well, I'm going to go back to this project and I want you to see that it's all on the up and up. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say, you know what, forget about waiting for whatever my cycle time is. I want you to run that batch now and get that data updated in my real views. And so it has. Now I can come back to the patient's view and I can look and I can see the live information. Now I've got the most recent information. Notice back here, instead of saying CT, it's telling me it is current. It is current with the most recent batch of changes, whereas it'll show you CT for ones that have been changed. Notice instead of showing us an L for the header operation, it's now showing us a U. And feel free to rewind that video a little back if you want to understand. So it's going to tell you, here's the live information, and by the way, this is not what was coming from the full load. This has been changed somewhere, but it is the most current record in our storage layer. It's not coming from any live views. Well, maybe I don't want to have these kind of features. I don't want to give the end user chances to do that, because if you look at help, you'll find out, man, those things are a little bit costly. That's kind of why we wait and batch them up every 15 minutes rather than it happening all the time. Well, if I come into my project for this, you'll see that this is one of my settings. Do I want to have live views available in this storage layer? Well, maybe for one of our storage layers we do, but for another we don't, and we can toggle that as we desire. Not only that, but just like in my previous video, you can always come into one of the data sets that is in your storage layer, and you can override that view. Just as you overrode whether you wanted to retain history or not, you could say, no, I don't care what you're doing for the layer itself. I do not want this table to have live views because I know my end users don't need it, or I know I might have end users that might abuse it for this particular table, or I don't care if you didn't provide live views for the other 999 tables. I want you to provide a live view for this one data set because this is the one that I know my end users need. So you can always toggle and make those changes. Hope that you have a great day and can appreciate the wonder and majesty of a live view.